chapter 7, verse 1. How beautiful are your feet in sandals, O daughter of a noble. The curves of your thighs are like ornaments, the work of a craftsman's hands. That craftsman being, of course, the Almighty Creator. It says, how beautiful are your feet in sandals. As we know, that refers to the good news. The sandals, the zeal for preaching the good news. So having the knowledge of the good news, the testimony of Mashiach, and the zeal to teach them is beautiful. It's a beautiful combination. And it is the zeal to preach that will pretty much protect the good news that we are bringing, right? Just like the sandals protect the feet as we walk. How beautiful are your feet in sandals. So the congregation that preaches the good news and who has the zeal, as Ephesians mentions, the sandals. Oh, daughter of a noble, right? The daughter of the king. The curves of your thighs, which connects with pact, covenant, the thighs. That's why it is written in the thigh of Mashiach, King of kings and sovereign of sovereigns, are like ornaments, the work of a craftsman's hands. Your navel is a rounded bowl. Let it not lack mixed wine. Your navel is a rounded bowl. Let it not lack mixed wine. It's funny, like, you know how some do shots like in the world from the navel? It's kind of old school, right? Talk about wine in the navel. So obviously, right, as we know, this is referring to the husband talking to the wife, and that's why it's so intimate. That's why he's being so clear and direct with what he thinks regarding her beauty. Your navel is a rounded bowl. Let it not lack mixed wine, right? A strong drink, which makes joyful the one who drinks it. Just like he would enjoy or enjoys looking at her and even her navel. Your body is a heap of wheat hedged about with lilies. As we know, the chosen few are the wheat in the harvest of Revelation 14. So interesting, because we know that the body of Mashiach is the wheat and the blood of Mashiach is the wine. So the few and the many, body and blood, wheat and wine. So we see here, your navel is a rounded bowl. Let it not lack mixed wine. And as we know, when we were in the belly, in the womb, we were receiving our sustenance through the navel, right? We were connected to our mother who would feed us through the navel as we were in the womb. And depending on what we would receive from her, would pretty much influence us, even our personality as we were born and then grew up. That's why it's so important for pregnant women to watch what they put in their bodies as they are pregnant, because they are giving it to their children. And also not only put in as food or drink, but also emotions, thoughts, and all of that, because it will affect the child. In this case, let it not lack mixed wine, right? Joy, blood, the blood of Mashiach, life, eternal life. Your body is a heap of wheat hedged about with lilies. Once again, lilies as the congregation, meaning Israel, but also the beauty of a lily, which represents the honor, esteem, splendor of a king, or in this case, queen. Your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle. We already saw a verse like this in the previous chapter, so it is explained a bit there. Your two breasts, remember verse 3, here it is. But in this case, it's chapter 4, because remember the first here is the last of the previous in English. So, Shenei Shadaich, your two breasts. But remember that here within Shadaich, once again, remember the kaf. That letter is pretty much your. And here we have breasts. And as you can see, is the word Shaddai, which also means omnipotent, the sovereign of the spirits, the almighty creator, who is all powerful, just like the milk that a child receives from his mother is enough for everything that he needs. In fact, now that I say enough, it is said that one of the meanings of Shaddai means it's enough. There's enough, as in Yahweh has enough for all of us and for anything that we may need. So that's one of the meanings most commonly given in Judaism to Shaddai. There's enough. And also refers to the moment in time when Yahweh decided to finish creation. And he said, that's enough. On the sixth day, when he created everything, he said, that's enough. So that connects with Shaddai. Yeshdai pretty much would be, there's enough. Yeshdai, and that is, we get those words, those two words from the word, or are within the word Shaddai. So there's enough, and that is important also because the fact that Shaddai refers to the end when there's enough creation shows how Shaddai connects with the last, the second manifestation. Just like the word El connects with the first, Yahushua, for in the beginning, El Elohim created the heavens and the earth. So the beginning and the end, El Shaddai, Yahweh, first and last. Hopefully that's clear. So Shenei Shadaich, two breasts. Just like in the end, the two witnesses appear, or the fact that there were two manifestations of the Almighty One, first and last, right and left. As to Afarim, which are the fawns. And remember, I had mentioned how Afar is pretty much the dust. If we were to separate that and see what else it could mean. And we already mentioned that in the previous chapter. So he's there, and then he says, Ta'amei Sebiyah. Ta'amei, twins of the gazelle. But you see how gazelle ends with Yah. And like I already said, the righteous in the house of Yah. We can see that in the word gazelle. The righteous ones, the righteous one in the house of Yah, in the temple. And that is the twin, as in the last with the twin of the first. So as we know, and I already mentioned, the half of a body is the twin of the other half. So that is being said here is also the same as when he talks about the breasts. They are also twins. Your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle. Then he says, your neck is like an ivory tower. Ivory tower. Verse 4. I mean, in this case, 5. Sabareich kemigdal, as a tower, Hashem, of ivory. But Shane is actually a tooth. And ivory was taken from the tooth, right? So that's why it is translated as ivory, because it is understood what kind of tooth it is referring to. But I already mentioned as well in the previous chapter how tooth is connected with change, with transformation, with fire, or fire transforms, because of the connection with the letter Shin, which is the beginning of Shane, tooth. And also root of the number 2 in Hebrew, as we have 2 teeth in the very front, which are twins, as the rest of the teeth on one side are twins of the other side. So your neck is an ivory tower. So it refers to purity because of his whiteness. And right, the fact that it is comparing a tower to the neck. Pretty much referring how she looks when she stands straight like a tower, which is a beautiful I'm missing the word. Well, I missed the word, but stands pretty much to be straight with the head up instead of how many people are curved, looking down, afraid, insecure. Yet this refers to her being straight, looking up, head up, and therefore everything else, right? Looking secure, powerful, beautiful. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes pools in Heshbon by the gate of Bath Rabim. Your eyes pools in Heshbon by the gate of Bath Rabim. Your nose is like the tower of Lebanon looking to Damascus. Now, because of the fact that he's mentioning names, let's go and check it out. Heshbon, as you see here, it means stronghold. It comes from Heshbon, which means account, reasoning, reckoning. And that in turn comes from Chashab, which means to think, plan, steam, calculate. Chashab. So Heshbon, stronghold. Then we have Bath Rabim, which is daughter of many, daughter of multitudes. Therefore, like the many, right? In comparison to the few, 144,000. Lebanon, we already knew, whiteness, and then Damascus, it is commonly translated as silent, is the sackcloth weaver. And that could refer, like I always mentioned, to the chosen few. I mean, the witness like Moshe. In fact, the two witnesses, for they wear sackcloth. But also with the last, specifically because he comes like a thief in the night. So therefore, silent, wearing sackcloth. But also, if we were to separate Dam, and let me find something real quick here, just to show it from the book. And it says, there is a Dead Sea Scroll called the Damascus document. In this scroll, the Essenes of Qumran called the new covenant the covenant of Damascus. Many have wondered why. It has nothing to do with Damascus, Syria. Damascus is the Essene name for their city that we today call Qumran. The word Damascus is made up of two Hebrew words, dam, meaning blood, and mashak, meaning air, or stronghold. The new covenant of Damascus is the new covenant of the blood air. It is the new covenant of the Messiah. So this is from the ancient mysteries of the Essenes, as you see here. So that is another translation given for Damascus, Damashek. Pretty much, as we know, Dam means blood, and Meshek or Mashak could be translated as air. So the blood air, that being Mashiach, Yahushua. So with all that said, going back to the verse, your neck is like an ivory tower, referring to the beauty, purity. Your eyes pools in Heshbon, pools of the stronghold. Also remember how Heshbon came from Chashab, which means to think. And you know how you can see in the eyes if somebody is thoughtful, right? And it looks beautiful when a person actually thinks about stuff. While if a person doesn't think much, tends to look a bit dumb, sadly, right? You can see that in the eyes of people, how they, how smart they may be, can be seen in the eyes. By the gate of Bath Rabim, by the door gate of the many, the daughter of many, the daughter of multitudes. Your nose is like the tower of whiteness. Another tower represents strength, represents, well, once again, it is something beautiful to look upon. And it connects with being vigilant, right? Like the wise virgins. So we see that he's mentioning the the nose and the neck as a tower. The neck helps to put the head above the whole body in order to look where you're going, be vigilant. And the nose helps to discern what we have in front, what's around us, through the smell, of course. And as we know, that represents spiritual discernment, to separate the good from the bad, that of the spirit. And remember, spirit is ruach, which is wind. So we smell the wind just like we discern from spirit, or discern the spirits. Your nose is like the tower of whiteness, look into the blood air. And that can be seen as because of the fact that your discernment is as the tower of purity. So your discernment is high and is able to help you be vigilant in purity as a virgin, looking for the blood heir to appear, as a watchman on a tower looking for the coming of the Savior. So through discernment of the Ruach, represented by the nose, in the true spirit, which is represented by Lebanon, you can watch out, represented by the tower, for the coming of the Messiah, represented by Damashek, the blood heir. Also, the coming of the witness like Moshe, the silent one who comes wearing sackcloth. Your head upon you is like Mount Carmel. Carmel means garden, pretty much represents the paradise. And it's interesting that I just mentioned the two witnesses, right, represented by Damashek, as in the silent sackcloth weaver. And they will die just like the sacrifice that was done by Eliyahu in Mount Carmel, but this time performed by the false prophet, bringing strange fire, which is represented by Leviticus 16, when they mention in Yom Kippur the death of the two children of Aharon, who brought strange fire and were consumed from fire with fire from the heavens. So your head upon you is like Mount Carmel, as paradise, as a garden. And the hair of your head like purple. 6, your head on top of you as Carmel, as paradise, as a beautiful garden. That's interesting. And the hair on your head, but this could be translated as well as, and the doors or the gates of your head. And I have mentioned as well how hairs represent gates. And that's why men, when they grow older, tend to go bald, which represents that the gates of understanding are open. So everything that you learned when you were young and had a full set of hair now can be revealed. And therefore part of the hair is gone. And the head shines, right? Because the revelation is coming out, because the gates are gone. the doors of your head, Kargaman, as Argaman, as purple. Remember that purple represents royalty. It is the mix of blue and red, which is the representation of first and last. Your head upon you is like Mount Carmel, and the hair on your head like purple, like royalty. The sovereign is held captive by the ringlets, right? So we mentioned the sovereign after mentioning the purple of her hair. Not that her hair is purple. It's talking about how, and well, actually, it would be interesting to go and see this word as well. That is translated there as purple. Here it is. Argaman. Purple, red, purple. A precious color obtained from some spices of shellfish found on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. So it makes this that we just read here, makes it very, well, not very easy to find or to make. So only royalty could attain it because of how expensive it was. So not only because of that, but because of several reasons, like I just mentioned, red and white, the combination makes purple, and that is the representation of royalty when heaven and earth unite. Earth, red, heaven, blue, right? The heavens are blue, the land is red. So red and blue make purple. So purple is the representation of first and last becoming one, and the heavens and the earth uniting in Mashiach. The will of the Father be done on earth. Your head like purple, the sovereign is held captive by the ringlets. The king is held in the galleries. Here we have ringlets, a hat, through hollow lock of hair. So pretty much he is lost in her hair. Her hair is so beautiful that he is held captive by it. For it is like royalty, and he is a sovereign, and her head itself is like paradise. And that is all interesting as well in the sadly kind of negative sense, because remember, like I just mentioned, that just like in Carmel, Eliyahu made a sacrifice that will be copied by the false prophet in the end times to kill the two witnesses. Before they killed the two witnesses, as in Mount Carmel, before they killed the head of the congregation in a place as in what happened in Mount Carmel, once that happens, he will turn purple in the sense of royalty. He will become king through death and become one with Yahushua, the blue, while he comes in red. So that will make purple. And before he is sacrificed to become king, he, the sovereign, will be held captive, right? He will be in prison for 10 days. And it is possible that he will be a female. In fact, my brother Yahweh had a dream that was very interesting. Thank you so much for telling me, my brother. Kind of confirms what we've been studying for years. And we'll see if it is 100% prophetical and all that. But the sovereign is held captive by the ringlets, as in by the beauty of the woman. And we know from the fact that Joseph was accused by a woman, it is possible that a woman will be the one betraying the two witnesses, reason why they would be captive to be sacrificed, as in Carmel, and turn royal. I hope the connection was understood. So your head upon you is like Mount Carmel, paradise, and the hair of your head like purple, royalty. The sovereign, for he is king, is held captive by the ringlets. So he is in love with her. How beautiful and how pleasant you are, O love, in the lights. How beautiful and how pleasant. Love, ahava, in delights. Pleasant you are, O love, in delights. This stature of yours compares to a palm tree, and your breasts to clusters. The palm tree represents the righteous one. In fact, palm tree is tamar, the word for it. Let me see if I find it here. Letamar. You see, Tamar is right here. And that is the name of an ancestor of Mashiach, Tamar, who got in bed with Yahudah, from whom came Serach and Peretz. Yahushua came from Peretz. So Tamar represents the congregation of the righteous ones, because the righteous ones grow like the cedar tree and give fruit like the palm tree. So this stature of yours compares to a palm tree. Although in the literal, it would refer to how tall she is, of course. Here we have, obviously, mainly spiritual stature, because she is righteous. And your breasts to clusters. And your breasts to clusters of grapes, right? Once again, they give joy like the wine taken from the grapes. I said, let me go up to the palm tree. He went for it, right? So he first said she's like a palm tree. Now he wants to go up to the palm tree, get some fruit from it. So I said, let me go up to the palm tree. Let me take hold of its tips. And please let your breast be like clusters of the vine, and the fragrance of your breath like apples. Remember that apples have a connection with Israel because of the way the apple tree gives its fruit, which sometimes comes before the leaf itself and represents Israel, who said, we will do and we will hear. So it seems to be backwards, but it was better because we were sure and ready to serve Yahweh. So we said, yeah, we will do. Now tell us what we need to do, right? Those who ask first what we need to do, many times is just to be able to say no, because I don't want to, right? So the fact that we said we will do means it doesn't matter. Just tell us, because we want to serve you. So that connects with the apples. Obviously, also scripture refers to the apple tree as one that gives a pleasant smell. That's why it is representing here the breath of the congregation. Breath which the congregation used to say, we will do and we will hear. So that is verse 9. I said, let me go up to the palm tree. Let me take hold of its tips. And let your breasts be as clusters of the vine, and the smell of your breath as apples. And your palate like the best wine. Your palate like the best wine, going down smoothly for my beloved, flowing gently, slumbering lips. When your palate like the best wine, right? Her words bring joy, gladness of heart, like wine, going down smoothly for my beloved. So it is a good wine that goes down well, flowing gently, slumbering lips. I am my beloved's, and his desire is toward me. I am my beloved's, and his desire is toward me. So now the congregation speaking. Now let me see for a moment. So you see from half of verse 9, pretty much is when the woman, the bride, starts speaking. So here, I am my beloved's, and his desire is toward me. The congregation saying she belongs to the Messiah, and his desire is to be with her. The desire of Yahweh through Mashiach is to be one with the congregation. Ani ledodi ve'alai teshukato. And over me is his desire. Come, my beloved, let us go forth to the field. Let us stay in the villages. Let us get up early to the vineyards. Let us see whether the vine has budded. The grape blossoms have opened. The pomegranates have bloomed. So it's calling for the Messiah to come and go check the harvest, to come and see if it's ready to be harvested, right? The field. And also that would refer in the physical, intimate way to them giving fruit, therefore becoming one flesh through children. Come, my beloved, let us go forth to the field. Let us stay in the villages. Let us get up early to the vineyards. Let us see whether the vine has budded. The grape blossoms have opened. The pomegranates have bloomed. There I give you my loves. So just like this is pretty much making a metaphor of the harvest with fruits being ready to the intimacy that they would have in order to give, to have children, shows how spiritually we see in the book of Revelation, how when the harvest happens is the time when we become one with Messiah. Therefore, that is the time when there will be the greatest intimacy in order to give fruit. So we become one in the harvest, and that's why the bride is used in the harvest of the grapes and the pomegranates to represent the unity between her and her groom. That's why it ends with, there I give you my loves, my carnal loves. That's verse 13. Sham etain, I'll give you, et dodai lach, my love to you. The love apples have given fragrance. Oh, that is so interesting. Hadudaim. So that's interesting because let me go and show it here. Mandrakes right here, Genesis 30 says, and Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, once again, the harvest, and found love apples. That's how they call them here, as the translated, love apples. Those are the mandrakes found by Reuben, as we see here, right? The mandrakes. It is said that this is a type of fruit, or what is actually like a root with the shape of a human. And it is said that if consumed, helps to become pregnant, which would be the reason why they would be called love apples. And I'll read a little bit more. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes, love apples, in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's love apples, mandrakes. One of the interpretations of this verse is that Rachel wanted to be pregnant for Yaakov. She wasn't able. Everybody, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah were getting pregnant except Rachel. So when she saw that Reuben found mandrakes, she asked Leah, Reuben's mother, to please give her of those mandrakes or love apples. And Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's love apples. But she said to her, is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's love apples too? And Rachel said, therefore, let him lie with you tonight for your son's love apples. So Rachel was willing to give Jacob for a night to Leah. So she pretty much rented him for a night in order for her to receive the mandrakes and then be ready to get pregnant by Jacob when he would come back from Leah. Right? So therefore, let him lie with you tonight for your son's love apples. And when Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, do come into me, for indeed I have hired you with my son's mandrakes, love apples. And he laid with her that night. And Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my female servant to my husband. So she called his name Yisachar, which means there is reward. And Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim has presented me with a good present. Now my husband is going to dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun, which means exalted place. And afterward, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, which it is believed that it is possible that she was remembered and in the physical received the ability to give birth through the eating of the mandrakes. And Elohim listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son and said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph. So Joseph would have been born because of the mandrakes taken from Reuben. That is huge for several reasons. One of those, because when Reuben sinned, the firstbornship, the right of the firstborn, was passed down to Joseph. So we see how Reuben, which means see the son, gave mandrakes to Rachel, and that made her be remembered by Yahweh in order to give birth to Joseph, who received the right of the firstborn from Reuben, just like Yaakov got it from Esau, the true firstborn. So she called his name Joseph. And actually, it is interesting also that even though all that happened, like I just mentioned, Reuben loved Joseph eventually, in the sense that he understood what happened. He didn't want to kill him. He wanted to bring him back to Jacob. But when he went to see if Joseph was still in the hole, they had sold him already. So she called his name Joseph and said, Yahweh has added to me another son. In fact, this is not well translated, because he should say Yahweh may add another son, because she wanted to have at least 2. She did not want to have only one, because then every other Bila, Zilpah, and Leah would have more sons than her. So she would be, in her thought, in her mind, less important to Yaakov. So she didn't want to be under when it comes to the number of sons that she had. She didn't want to be below Zilpah and Bila, who were servants. So, and it came to be when Rachel had born Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, send me on my way to go to my own place into my land, because it is prophesied that Joseph would be the one who would destroy Esau. So once he had Joseph, Jacob was ready to go and meet Esau, because he knew that Esau wouldn't be able to destroy him since Joseph had already been born. And that is because there was a prophecy that a descendant from Joseph would come and destroy Rome and the false Yahudim, the Jewish, who are the synagogue of Satan, which would happen in our time. So with all of that said, let me also go for a moment to, you see how it says mandrakes here. Let me see the word in Hebrew so you see how interesting this is. They are called dudaim. And you see how it says dudai? Dudaim would be the plural. Dudai, singular. And you see how they start with Dud or Dawid, right? Dalet, Vav, Dalet, that is the name Dawid. Also Dud, which is beloved. And remember how it would say Dodi Li, my beloved is for me, right? So the Dudai could be also pronounced Dodi, my beloved. So Rachel ate a Dudai, and from her came Yosef, from whom would come, interestingly enough, the branch of David. Because the last who comes from Yosef by accepting Yahushua HaMashiach becomes a Yahudi, and therefore the branch of David, because Yahushua is the root. So you see mandrake or love apple. It's called a love apple because it's a fruit that in its name has the word beloved. You see, as exciting sexual desire and favoring procreation. So that's why Rachel wanted the love apples that Reuben brought. So we see that from Reuben, see the son, came the Dudaim, or my beloved, or my David, that was taken by Rachel in order to give birth to Joseph, who then would come and through Yahushua, the son, would become the branch of David. I hope that was understood. I do think it's very interesting, very powerful. And then to see it here, once again, the mandrakes, the love apples have given fragrance, and our gates are all pleasant fruit, new and old, which I have laid up for you, my beloved. Hadudaim. Hadudaim, the mandrakes, the love apples. See what else have given their smell, their fragrance, new and old, my beloved, which I have laid up for you. So we see here the congregation as Rachel. And the congregation are the few, just like Rachel only had 2 children. So she had the few, while Leah had the many. So Leah represents the many, Rachel the few. The love apples have given fragrance, and our gates are all pleasant, new and old, which have laid up for you, my beloved. New and old, like the new covenant and the old covenant. Once again, like the few and the many, like the people of Israel and the nations, etc., etc.